And doing great. Man, I love the vibe in here. Some people say the intro music is too long. This is an investing and trading channel. The intro it means you haven't been around long enough, first of all. And then second of all, the vibe in here, guys, is something special. It's not normal. You guys are absolutely, absolutely the best. You guys are a blessing to everyone. Kathy, if you know, you know. It has been a long time here. We are sipping on some matcha today. But it's not. Is it going to be like this? This morning I was like, man, I thought yesterday like was the first time in the evening I was feeling like a little better. Even joking around with my wife. She's like, "Oh, you're feeling better." And then this morning making breakfast for the kids and I'm like, oof. And then Chris is like, "It's this flu strain that's going around." And I tell my wife, just man, I'm just not feeling. I don't say man to my wife. I'm just not feeling so well. And she's like, "Why don't you take some medicine?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I never thought of that. I don't, it's a good idea." So I might have been a little late, but about 40 minutes ago, took some ibuprofen, and here we are. So feeling a little bit better, and we're just gonna go at it, and we're gonna work within what we're able to do today, and that's it. But I got a lot. I got a lot I want to share with you. So we're gonna get into it, and we're gonna do it. By the way, we saw some head snack, right? This was head snack, childhood best friend putting together CTM's theme song we used to play back in the day. Often, we'll get that back in one day. We'll get that back in over there. We need some head snack back and get this going over here. Ace this morning was talking about, listen, we got to get the hive mind flowing here in 2026, and which I agree completely. Right? I'm all about leading the charge, and I obviously have been working through this rough stretch right now, food poisoning mixed with the flu, whatever. But I'm on the mend, and primary focus right now is getting at the V4 release, and then ramping up the hive, energizing, inspiring, and then leading us to heights in 2026. Michelle, we used to sometimes play double honeymoon back in the day when we were just like out on the public all the time. And we used to do sometimes double the honeymoon dose. People needed it to suppress them at that point in time. Has everyone given up on Bitcoin? We were asking 5 years from now, what do you think outperforms, Bitcoin, gold, or silver? Silver right now looking like it is a lot of people calling for silver's demise up here, $76. Look at this. Is this a little bit gnarly? Double top over here. Was this a reverse Adam and Eve bottom over here or top? You got a simple trend line over here. It did pierce over there or wicked below. That makes this hard to do. Hold on one second. Let's go ahead and just try to get this exact as possible. Hold on one second over there. Because this is, I mean, you got a lot of noise over there. Hold on. Let me see how I go about this. A lot of noise. I just don't like it. So let's go into this first over here. Some people think that silver's about to crash. Two bags think a meltdown looms next week with the rebalancing. I know that you've heard all the chatter, so I'm not going to get into it with you, except to refute of that. Multiple sources. There are 2 U.S. brokers proactively making the rounds, recommending clients to short silver because it will melt down next week. What will be the trigger? Bloomberg Commodity Index rebalancing. This over here, let me go ahead and share this post in the comments with you. Anyone is interested, they could take a look at it. This morning, fucking it yesterday, last night, I was actually like, listen, we should have over here a metals channel in the Discord, right? For resources to go ahead and refer back to. And Ace Brandon said, you know what? We should look at having one for precious and one for industrial. This should be nested in there right over here because it gives a counterbalance, and to why it's likely going to be a non-event. We see lots of those things. What are non-events? Japanese yen trade unwind. It is going to set off a system reset in December when they go ahead and they raise rates 25 bit. No, listen, at that point in time, if you all know, it was very recent. I was like, no, I don't see all the hoopla. Man, irons keeps running. Rewind. Um, I think that in 2026, this is something to watch. This is one thing that I put on my radar as could potentially be something. If Bank of Japan is able to continually raise rates, US Fed starts lowering rates. If both of those things are in motion, you might see less of an incentive for that carry trade to be put on. We might see a change here. Anyway, that's something that I'm just planting in the back of your mind, because even though I didn't think that December's was going to be anything to watch out for, it can develop. We'll be watching for that. All right. What are we looking at over here? Gold to silver ratio. A lot of people asking, is this a good time? By the way, our positionings is amazing right now. This is absolutely amazing. And the heart of this session is I want to take a strong look at a Bitcoin chart with you. All right. So we're going to get into that in just 1 second. Do you think in 2026 that we should have like a formula for our sessions? That we should have some type, or do we keep just doing the way that we do it, right? Uncovering nuggets as they unfold. Some people like structure. Yeah. This is silver FUD, silver bullet, silver shield. Let's jump right back into the Bitcoin. But right now, some people are thinking, hey, listen, it might be a good time to rotate out of silver. It's gone bang buster in 2026, specifically over the last few months, and rotate into gold. I like gold. I think that everyone here agrees that gold, silver, Bitcoin, gold, silver. Yes, that's my Bitcoin, gold, silver, and tech are all things that we should be enthused about going forward. And then I look at this, and I saw an interesting opinion yesterday. It's hard when I put out the reminder, follow those with a history of getting it right, but you have to be. It's not easy to follow everyone closely. That's true. So you have to be careful with what points you pick and choose. I was listening to a commentary, and they were like, let's pretend. Allow me to just give like loose, no details here, because I don't want to if they're not exact. But in the video, they're like catching up after a year or 6 months, a year, and they're like, oh, silver's been up 150% in 2026, and I was telling you that metals would be the no, you were saying gold was the trade, and now it's like silver's the trade. And then hold on 1 second, bear with me here, all right? And I'm not trying to call anyone out. I'm just trying to give an honest assessment over here, and give a warning here on gold and silver and the ratio, and whether or not it's a good time here to actually rotate into gold. And then, continues talking about this, and this is true. Before this massive meltdown, I heard this voice say that he expected that silver was going to go ahead and take out this area over here from a decent amount away, and that is expecting it to go to single digits. Now, I think that even if we came down and tested in this area over here, that would be extreme for where we are right now, right? Now, silver is definitely a much more speculative market than gold. You could see that COMEX is doing their best right now to suppress the leverage involved over here, but you're dealing with a limited amount of physical, a certain amount that could be mined every year, and a certain amount that is used every year for industrial uses. So it's a little bit easier to put the squeeze on over here. Could you or anyone see a situation where silver extends down much further? single digit seems extreme to me, but I don't know what monetary reset looks like. None of us do or have any idea of what monetary reset looks like. So who knows? But it seems extreme to me. Right now, it seems that silver is a little bit of an extreme move versus gold. But are we going to get just like a bounce and maybe a bounce up and then continue to see a resume? Up here's a big move. This is after Powell decides to flood the system. And I always thought this was the time to act. So hold on one second. I always thought that going into a crisis, and we're not into a crisis right now, we're over here, right? Fed cycle, we're right here, September 2019, right around this area, and you could see silver was on the move. By the way, a lot of people, my expectations right now, oh, I can't even get there. Forget it. Let's keep going. Ace, I'm in the camp with you. I look. Some people, they said they would sell Sylvander at 70. I think they changed their mind. I think some people sold a little bit. I think a lot of people got tired of holding silver for way too long. I hope that never happens with Bitcoin, where Bitcoin enters into a lost decade. Never know though, right? We never know. A lot of people turning sour on Bitcoin over here and looking at the flows into the ETFs. They continue to look really good. There's a lot more billions of dollars into those ETFs than there were in April. That's looking good. You guys want to talk about Bitcoin? I do. Well, 1 second. 1 second. Let's continue this conversation. I think that we're over here in September 2019. And September was unique. I mean, this area was unique in that this was leading into a crisis. And nothing suggests right now that in the next 6 months that we should be heading into any type of crisis. And it looks like that over the next 4 months, we're actually going to see those reserves refilled and ample once again. And that's why I believe over this next quarter, and it could take two, but I think over this next quarter, we should see risk stabilize and we should begin to see upward momentum beginning. And yeah, second, third quarter, but by then we should go from muddling to beginning to running. That's the expectations that I have. Now, right now, we're 100% in cash. We don't know, like, that's a great place to be. Bitcoin and crypto, 100% into cash. Buy side boost, obviously 100% in cash. And stocks, 100% in cash. Absolutely insane because it's rare that we're 100% in cash. But here we are. By the way, for those checking out, V4 over here, Solana's still holding. Interesting. Are we seeing? All right, let's bring this back over here. So for as far as gold ETFs, Sprott, right? Is that I don't have any gold ETFs. Sprott is the one that's physically backed, right? You want to stay away from GLD. Check out Sprott. I don't do they have a silver product? I'm not aware. I would check there first. And then I would check in with LLMs and have them confirm, right? Is this ETF backed by actual physical? And if it's not, at any point in time, you could see a disconnect between what the physical market is doing and what that paper ETF is doing. If the market doesn't believe that there's any that the paper is going to be backed up, you're going to see a major disconnect. And then you could be right about the direction in the long term and then not your investment not follow suit. You don't want that to happen. So be very careful about that. Now, you also have the futures markets. And a lot of people in crypto think that they're crazy degens. But the future markets is where the leverage is. Very careful. All right. Sprott is king. So, and major retrace. So we're going to look at retracements in 1 second. I just want to finish telling this story. Look over here. This is a major move. So, oh, by the way, so we're not into crisis. Crisis, gold outperforms. Anytime you see Fed return to outright QE, this is the time where silver shines, at least up until today. And you can see over here, 2008 QE, bam. 2020 QE, bam. Look at this move over here. And you can see that massive move down, like similar to now. And then you saw on the monthly chart move up and then faded down. Is that what we're in store for over here potentially? I don't know. I suppose there's two paths that happen from where we are right now. And one could be similar where you get a small bounce over here, right? You get a bounce and then faded, or we get a bigger bounce, right? And that bigger bounce, see, it's hard to, I don't think it's going to be much higher than 67. But both of those things is what I think is in play. And unless we see, which I don't see, some type of liquidity crisis develop, see, I think that the Fed here has come in and they've done everything necessary to prevent what was a developing liquidity crisis. But we'll keep track of it. That's for sure. I'm looking forward here to monetary base making the turn and turning up, and we're going to see risk assets turn up with it. That's my thesis. Completely unique in the space. We'll find out how I've done. Now let's jump back over here to silver and trying with a simple trend line. And it just seems like it's not working for me. So is there anything else I could look at? How about them apples? How about them eyes? I like that eye. You like that eye? You see how I did over here? Right? So you got 1, 2, nice 3 touches. And then it was, those resistance would then support. So I like that line. I didn't like the first line. You know, try again. It's just a line. Lines are amazing for managing risk about. Let me pause here and to talk about the importance of lines and managing risk. All right, here we go. And see over here. Yeah, so, oof, $40. You think it'd come down to 40? Yeah, the purple line down over there. I mean, that would, I see. I wouldn't wait for 40, but the purple line, if we came back down towards that purple line, that would be a place that I would lean in with futures, But I think that ship has sailed. I think that ship has sailed. Now we'll find out. We might find out soon what real volatility looks like. It's been a little while. Maybe we're going to find out what real volatility looks like. 69 seems extraordinarily reasonable. Seems like an easy and good shakeout place over here, taking out that low, right? I can imagine a lot of people there definitely giving up. Seems like a good place to hunt stops. I'm going with this line over here. I like it. Jumping back, taking a look at Bitcoin. And by the way, Bitcoin right now in here today, so far we're in a downtrend. We're in the biggest correction here of the cycle, right? Larger than the tariff tantrum, Trump hoopla. But are we about to hit a new hoopla with the Supreme Court decision? So I'm expecting as early as tomorrow, and if not, February. And we're going to find out. Is that going to be a non-event? I honestly don't know. I don't have any opinion on what the price action will be or what the near-term ramifications will be. Expect the unexpected. We're 100% in cash. It feels great. It feels really, really good. All right. You guys are great. So we are looking at downtrend over here, largest downtrend of the bull market. And we have now our first repair out of it. Look at that. First repair out of it. And so far we have a breakout and a retest is underway. Coming into some near-term resistance right above us. Came in for a deep retest so far, right? We're looking to make the first meaningful repair above this green line over here. The reason it's meaningful is because the market has tested that 3 times of late back in December. And if we get above it, then we could say, all right, that it's on. That looks good. Until then, we're looking for, well, we're highly cautious. Let's say about that. If this fails over here, the lower trend line over here, especially once the RSI was oversold into it and taking it down, that's leading to likely the next big leg down. We are in no man's land with the earliest signs of, well, it's a trend line break. It's a buy impulse, but it doesn't look good yet, right? It looks good above this. Yes. Bring on the 6 figures. So let's go back and look at this chart over here. All right. So a couple of things. Number one, that yellow line is the bull market breakout invalidation. And we called here in December 2022 why the field was extraordinary bearish, the bull market breakout. And then we had a break above 17,250. 17,250 was the previous cycle floor. Yeah, price traded above it barely for a little bit, but this was where the floor was flipped out. This is where we retested it. This is where during the 3 Celsius meltdown, we held, and then we traded below it. Traded above it, sell impulse, back below, right side of the market, and then back above again, bull market breakout confirmed. And that yellow line was simply the invalidation. If at any point in time that breaks, the bull market is over. It just happens that 3 years later, it still hasn't broken yet. There was no way to know that it wasn't going to break at any time before. And September 2023 was quite iffy. And I think, March 2023, when we had the banking crisis, was iffy. This was even more iffy. This is the summer of 2023. And right here. And if the courts did not rule that the spot ETFs could have been, that the grayscale fund could be rolled over into spot ETFs and open up the door for spot ETFs in Bitcoin, I'm not sure that we wouldn't have broken down that line. But that's what happened. And then here we are today. That remains the same. The bull market is still intact. The yellow line still holds. And I know that I personally think 2 things. I think that in 2026, there's no bear market recession. And that I think that we're going to turn towards beginning to run this thing hot. Right? Now, is that a certainty? Absolutely not. Is it still my base case? Strongly. Are we looking at potential signs of rotations happening right now? Mag 7 seems to be cooling off a little bit. But then we looked at our what do you call them? Growth potential stocks. And they seem to be running pretty hot here in early 2026. Capital's looking for the right place to go, no doubt about it. All right. Look at that line over there. So first of all, let me continue painting this. MicroStrategy looks like it just went through a bear market in 2025, off 66%. This is amazing. I'm glad you brought that up. Thanks, JK. Right? What's going to be the reaction there? Hmm. Yeah. All right. So hold on. Let's continue looking at this picture. Why is Jordan showing a 50% drop? Because the other thing that he doesn't think is going to happen is that we see reduced volatility to the downside, right? Reduced volatility to the downside at this portion of the adoption cycle, and not seeing a bear market into 2026. Look at this line though. So first of all, this chart over here is going to continue. You all know the importance of these two dots, and that this third dot over here was broken. So we've broken down structurally and then made a lower low structurally, not by price. April low still stands. And then you could see, if I just talked about, if we break down from that line, next leg down. Now I don't know that it comes down into the yellow line, the invalidation, because you got a couple other lines below it, but I'm not putting them in the chart right now. Right? That's not important. That's about a 30% drop from where we are right now. Is that right? Yeah, close enough. Close enough. The line under it, this is where we had the BitMEX breakdown and the feedback loop. They had to take BitMEX off the line to stop. This is the low, and that's why I have that line under it. But the yellow line is where we established the support of the bull market. That's where price tested the wick. That's the right one. Closing below it, right? Look at the difference. That would be from the top to where I'm calling the invalidation of the bull market. A 43%, what was that, 43%? Where are we right now? 44% drawdown if price just went straight down right now, right? Obviously, that's upward sloping, so let's say it happens in, it's close enough, 44%. Taking out the April low into the first quarter and still holding that line, that would be amazing. Hold on, bear with me. So that line also, look at it. Taking out that line, the bull market invalidation is also taking out not only the April low, we could take out the April low without taking out the line, right? But here's the, leading into the election, the major resistance that was formed. That would look so technically horrible if Bitcoin were to do that. You would have to question whatever you thought was happening. I would say the bull market's over. And then you would say, wow, 17,250. And then over there, 323%. It is what it is, In comparison though, hold on one second. Previous calls where it was 53,000. It's major difference. Oof, major difference. That's a different asset now. It was a real coiner. I don't know if so my expectations are that in a liquidity event, that yeah, we could see this tested in a liquidity event. I don't think we're there right now. I don't think we're close to any type of liquidity event, and I think that the Fed has acted enough and quick enough to prevent one. They don't want one. There's no doubt. You enter into a liquidity event, you have to respond by flooding with liquidity, and it becomes a bigger problem. So it doesn't look like we're seeing on the horizon any signs and signals of any type of potential liquidity event that could happen from here we are. Now, my expectations are, as I just give, I still think that, and just like it was in September 2019, next couple of months were a little shaky. That's where we're at right now. first quarter, shaky, major overhang of the market, Supreme Court decision. There will always be an overhang of the market. Markets and bull markets fight that world worry, but that's a major one. We'll have to see what happens and how the markets respond. Love to see the clarity come out of the market. JK was announcing the market structure bill gets a vote next week, and that could open up the door here. I still think we're a little shaky in it through the first quarter. Would love to see at any point in time get above our green line. Then we're feeling things are a lot smoother here. But right now, we're a heartbeat away from a leg down, and there we are. If this bull market line breaks down, there are certain times when a break of a trend line, like it or not, could have ramifications. I could think of a couple. Let me show you. For those that were here and remember this one, a lot of people did not want this line to break. And a lot of people knew if it broke, that likely there would be major ramifications. Nevertheless, a lot of people hoped and hoped and hoped and hoped, and this went on for months. And then, boom, 50% down. There's another one I can remember. This one to a lesser extent, much lesser extent, no idea what was going to happen, but there was the whole, this is not a V. This is not a V. Remember, I was expecting a lift off and out. Melt up right here. And then when we took out, I don't remember the exact price. I remember it was a Friday. I remember it was 50,000. I don't remember the exact price at 50,000, but I remember saying, that's not right. Get neutral, whatever it was. And that was a major, major drawdown from there. 40%. And then everyone remembers this one over here. I don't even remember the price anymore. 53,140. Once again, close all positions, keeping spot open, de-risk down, and those were just trendline breaks that you did not want to happen. But when they happened, there was real and powerful ramifications. The yellow line here could be another one. If that were to break, regardless of what you want. Now, I think, and I sincerely think, that nothing fundamentally has anything fundamentally changed in Bitcoin? Yes. The market players have absolutely fundamentally changed. No more is this a retail speculative asset, and it is becoming institutionally adopted on a global stage. And that's a major, major, major change. Have we seen the volatility in the asset change because of it? Absolutely. This is why we're looking for the, here you go, over here. You can see since the bull market over here, the major, major, major difference in volatility in Bitcoin. Retesting the last cycle top. So when we look at the last cycle top, right, honestly, right, so you have this area over here, all the way through. Like, what's the cycle top though? Is it March 2024? Is it November 2021? Or is it April 2021? And I think that line right there is where the most That's hard to say. I'll try to give my best interpretation here. And then that would have to be the last cycle top. I mean, so far touching the resistance here off of April and holding, and of course we have the first sign of a potential recovery here, but we got to get above the green. If this indeed wound up being as such, I mean, market structure remains beautifully in place. I think anyone who called a bear market did that prematurely based on past bias of the little history that Bitcoin offers and its past cycle structures in November. That's where I think it is. Oh, November over here. Um, I mean, price made a higher high, but it was after a major bear market. So November over here. Let me come off the high then. It's pretty close. I don't think it's black and white though. Yeah. Oh yeah, every market translates into the next. Every market. I try to think because foreign exchange is great for example, I think for me personally, and I've talked about this a lot with everyone, I think in 2022, March 2022, that as the Fed was beginning to hike rates, I think that and begin a hiking cycle, and a hiking cycle that we did say, everyone says no one saw it coming. We said it was going to be a rate shock. I think that focusing in on the US dollar, Japanese yen was a tremendously missed opportunity. And I think all the time, what opportunity is being developing today that tomorrow was going to become clear, right? And trying to we have a stable coin. Give me the ticker. I'll come up. Right. Ace completely. But in for long-term macro plays, there could be tremendous opportunity. Yeah, I think everybody's so back to this chart. So I'm not bearish. We know that we're on the sidelines. We're 100% in cash on our swing trading. Bitcoin bull runs exited the market at 113, 114,000 a long time ago. But overall, bull market is still intact from my own personal belief. And if it broke though, and by the way, this tells the story very clearly of 55,000 Bitcoin is cheap. Because yeah, I mean 55,000 Bitcoin is cheap. Now, it would take what I would think would be a liquidity crisis to test it. Now, if you look at past cycles, and you can say, well, looking at 75 to 84% drawdown, which those two lower lines happen to coincide with. Those two lower lines come back to the bear market of 2015. So that's interesting. And a lot of people are expecting that this is what's in store in 2026. Now, I think it's accurate to say they believe that because of the 4-year cycle, right? It or do they think it because of the slow decline in job market that we're seeing as we see replay tech workers have been getting laid off, and then we see a lot of of immigration labor, illegal immigration labor, uh, leaving the job. I don't know. Um, ah, is cash trash? I don't know. Some people thinking the DXY is going to have a major rebound in 2026. I don't know. Um, so it's thinking about what opportunities do I see, where I'm always trying to look for opportunities. Now, I think any 30% correction on Bitcoin is an opportunity. I don't think that it's unreasonable to say that even in a bear market, we could have a 40 to 60% correction. I've said that all along, and you could see that right here into the yellow line, it's 46% correction. Into the liquidity line, 56% correction. All of those would still be well within the probabilities I set as we entered here into the early majority phase. Now, I don't think we trade below the yellow line unless we have a liquidity event, and I don't see that on the horizon. A lot of people think that we could see bear market 2026, 4-year cycle, anywhere between a 70 and 80% drawdown, taking us down to 35, 22% Bitcoin. If the yellow line breaks, though, and if the yellow line's breaking and there's no even liquidity pressure taking place, I think that's got to be a bad sign. And notice 50% drawdown, just that 70% drawdown. I mean, it's hard for me to. I'm looking at where that takes you. That takes you lower than price here, lower than the spot ETF shakeout. If you all remember what the spot ETF shakeout was all about, you could look at the amount of money right now. Here you go into April 2025, roughly at the. I'm sorry, this is just the April shakeout. You have to come back over here. You think we're going to see $57 billion of outflows? I don't know. It doesn't add up for me. I'm not seeing it at all. At all. I personally think 30% pullback on Bitcoin, massive opportunity, long-term opportunity to stack. I think any drawdown past that would be even more. Anyway, I'm just trying to. I genuinely would like be looking for that. I'm just trying to see my expectations of what price action is suggesting to us, and so far, bull market is still very much intact. See, obviously, uh, like bull market's been going on here for 3 years. 2023, 2024, 2025. This is not just Bitcoin specific. I'm talking about risk assets. I'm talking about equity markets. NASDAQ is 2% off its all time high. And it doesn't seem that this bull has any signs of slowing down. It seems like it's been consolidating all of 2025. That seems extremely bullish to me. A lot of people continue to be very worried. When it comes to the equity markets, the biggest, well, what red flags do you see? Are earnings estimates and are they are they being met and continuing to rise, or are they starting to come off? No, they continue going in the right direction. Is CapEx spending continuing to provide a lot of fuel for this boom? Yes. Maybe it's the reality of the K-shaped economy where you are seeing a lot of people, and I know I'm talking U.S. specific here, but is the largest economy in the world, and a lot of people are struggling, and they can't understand how the economy keep on going along, why so many people are struggling. Well, it's that the top 15, 20% who are the ones spending, and they're actually thriving and doing really, really well. And then you talk about the top 10%, you know, so not seeing that there. I'm I'm not seeing any signs of any type of, uh, let's say, stoppage in the AI boom. That's a red flag if that were to happen. A lot of people looking at price valuations, and I'm talking about price. Anyway, hold on one second. Yeah, I just don't know about what to say about Luke. We'll see what $95,000 looks like though. Yeah. So I mean, I am curious why Luke turned bullish on silver at $70. Well, Jordan's at 75 now. I don't know. It seems really late. And you all know, you guys been here the whole time, right? You all know when we were watching this thing and really bullish on it and saying, listen, what I say, I see at 90, we're not stopping there. Seems a little late to get bullish on silver. Luke turned bullish on Bitcoin, as per his own $35,000. I don't know what I think about Luke. Yeah. Yeah. I think you could say it's nice to listen to Luke. Very, like, it's nice to listen to Luke. I think Luke is extremely correct about the long-term direction of gold. And I think that Luke likes what I say about gold is monetary reset happening in real time. I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know. Probably shouldn't be trying to figure it out in real time. US dollar TT. Let's check it out. Thanks for dealing with me all as I'm struggling with the flu. Yeah, so let's check on this chart and not see what this chart could offer, and just how I view this from afar. I don't know. Trying to look for some important inflection points to see what this chart was signaling at the time. And yeah, I can't give a read on this chart that would give any type of alpha. I'm sorry, brother. I just don't see anything in it that's of use. So I started looking over here first at, well, where was the 2021 top, November 2021, right? And you saw this breaking out, right? So that was very bearish for Bitcoin. Okay. What about over here in April 2021? April, May. This broke out ahead of the top on Bitcoin. All right. What about 2023? Bear market breakout, seeing this come off. So the worry here is if this is breaking out, that you're going to see further pressure on Bitcoin. Is it leading? Is it lagging? Here's the top. Let me come back to October 2025. And this is where Powell messes everything up. So there was the pressure. Bitcoin's already been under pressure. And now we're seeing a breakdown over here. I don't really know how to. It seems like a very messy chart. Yeah. There you go. Vakane, thank you. So we're talking about what do I see where, looking forward is going to be the right place to be. And then we talked about something like, well, Jordan, it's very timely Bitcoin trading at $7,000-8,000 for you to bring our attention to it. What about you? I really missed. I really missed two things. Cause I don't care about what I get right. I don't care about what I miss. What I really missed was the Japanese yen trade in 2022. Another thing, if you all remember, in 2022, forget the most important trend line in crypto. I put out the most important trend line on the 10-year. And we were doing summer sessions then. And I didn't realize the ramifications when yields broke through that, what that would lead to. Those two things were big, big. Here it is right here. This one right here. Summer of 2021. Sorry. And imagine this is the foresight I did not have. The foresight I did not have. And I know that recently in 2025, doesn't matter if it's 2025, 2000. I know this is where Stanley Druckenmiller, Paul Tudor Jones have all gone short the 10-year. But this was the place down over here. And that's one of the biggest missed opportunities ever. Oh, well, no, no. Actually, you're blinded. This is how we learn. You learn from your mistakes, and by ingraining in it. And if you think that's crying, man, then I don't know what you've been through. Anyway, I'm not going to take you out like that. But listen, no, absolutely not. I want to be the best of the best. And to be the best of the best, you have to continually push yourself to improve and to perform on the highest level. There's no question about it. Yeah, I don't want to miss a tremendous macro move and not be on the right side of it because no way. No way. Yeah. So DXY. So Vakina has the most important thing of the session. Hold on one second. This is the most important thing over here. In looking today, though, I have to say that we are in the end game of the financial system, right? That, yes, 5 years from now, we talk about what's going to outperform gold, Bitcoin, silver, select tech. All of those is what we want. All of those is what we want to focus in on. All of those are good. That's where we need to continue to stay focused. Super, 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 super important. This is a man of great success that would have that understanding, right? Failures don't matter, right? It's failures that will lead to your greatest successes. Always. But unless you're willing to accept those failures, look at those failures and learn from those failures, keep failing. You're going to get it. Trust me. You got to keep going, right? So, is monetary reset synonymous with Bitcoin adoption? So, Craig, I think what some people talk about. Hold on one second. I want to put a chart of the DXY so I come back to it. All right. So, Craig, there are people out there who believe that Bitcoin is doomed to fail. By the way, follow those with a history of getting it right. The people that embrace this opinion, they would say that I'm not a Bitcoiner. And they've also missed out on the greatest trade of our lifetime up until now, right? So they didn't see that. And there's a difference between not seeing something in 2012, 2013. But if by 2017 you didn't get it, you have to wonder what was going on in the last 8 years with that person's mind that they were not able to grasp it when they consider themselves to be an expert in the field of finance. And a lot of those people believe that, well, the direction that we're going is in CBDCs. And if indeed we're going to have CBDCs, there's no way that the authorities will allow Bitcoin to exist. And that could be correct because no one's going to own a CBDC if they could buy Bitcoin with those CBDCs, right? I mean that could be correct. That's an area of thought, right? I have to give that attention. But then there's also, well, it seems that right now what the powers that be are trying to do is this genius act of trying to put up a bid for US treasuries through stablecoins that are backed by US treasuries. And in order to do that, they likely are going to need to let Bitcoin be a release valve here that grows in market cap in order to go ahead and grow the stablecoin market. So, does it look like that CBDCs are going to be now forget the Whitney Webb that stablecoins are just another name for CBDCs, which they're different. If you understand what a CBDC is, and a CBDC is something that is supposed to be backed by IMF special drawing rights. It's why the previous administration, the Obama administration, funded the IMF in order to go ahead and try to begin building that new asset bubble. And it didn't succeed. And I'm under the impression that what makes the most logical sense to me is that you're seeing right now foreign governments, foreign central banks giving up on US treasuries, and they have no problem holding gold. However, they're not going to hold silver, and they could hold Bitcoin. And that's a reality that would not surprise me one bit. Are they going to do it anytime soon? Are we going to see a major central bank hold Bitcoin? I don't know. We did see, like, it turns out Venezuela was holding a bunch of Bitcoin. I mean, 600,000 Bitcoin is not unsubstantial. It would be interesting to see if where that Bitcoin ends up. Anyway, I digress. Those same people also thought that Ripple was going to become the building block of this new central bank digital currency system that we're entering. And, here we are. So, yeah, Craig, is monetary reset synonymous with Bitcoin adoption? No, you could see monetary reset happening right now very clearly through the price of gold. If we saw, for example, the United States actually, one way or another, stack 1 million Bitcoin, and it's using that in one way or another to, what's the right word here? I want to say stabilize. Definitely not back. Anyway. So You already checked this out. This is an honest question over here. I think this is a really important question, Ace. Then we'll look at the DXY over here. So going back, let's say 8 years ago to 2017, I would personally say, and that was also right around the time we had the fork wars, right? You'll remember Bitcoin. They tried to corrupt Bitcoin, and it was a major battle. In 2017, I would say that the greatest risk to Bitcoin was that, well, governments would basically view it as a threat and they would disallow on and off ramps. That could have killed Bitcoin easily. I would say, and I firmly believe the risk for Bitcoin was significantly greater 8 years ago than it is today, right? Then move back 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, you had an administration that was not really favorable towards Bitcoin. Uh, and I would say that, yeah, things were a little bit more favorable than 4 years earlier, but still a lot of risks. I would personally say today that it's a much safer time than ever to invest in Bitcoin. However, there are still many risks. And do you think that there's a risk that, so a lot of people might point to this is the manipulation of Wall Street and the suppression of price of Wall Street. And I would say, are you kidding me? Suppressing price? All as I've seen over the last 15 months is major distribution from old holders and that being bought by Wall Street. It doesn't seem like suppression of price. Then people could talk about all of the option instruments and how they suppress price. And I say, well, maybe price is going to be suppressed for 2 more weeks until the next expiration. But then after that, there's a moment there that price gets to do what it's going to do. And I would expect a big move, one way or the other. But you could look at gold and silver. And both those markets were the two most manipulated markets on earth. But there comes a time and there comes a reckoning. So I don't think that manipulation by players such as Wall Street and banks is something to look at as a threat. If anything, that gives us honestly more time to accumulate. But there is the potential that Bitcoin could be corrupted from within. We looked at where you could look at the current saga that's taken place here with the core, and I stay so far away from the nonsense. I can't even remember the name right now, but that's okay. I'll give myself a pass. I hope you made the point. What the I would not be. I think the U.S. I think the U.S. likes. I think the U.S. likes gold and Bitcoin. Not. Thank you. I could see Bitcoin and players trying to suppress Bitcoin from within. That's a risk. There are many risks. Ace DXY. We've had first the breakout from the channel. By the way, this was up here originally, like this. And then we had the breakout, and then I moved it back down to here off of the last low. That's why we have the two pitches up there. And then we broke down over here. We've been bearish since the breakdown, but that's late, right? You could say that now we have, do we have a reverse move up over here? It looks like we're into, I'm so muddled. I don't have a direction over here, Ace. I have to give it time because I don't have a quick read on what happens here with the dollar. Now, going back to last time we were in this situation during the Fed cycle, we saw a period where the dollar rose, where gold rose, and Bitcoin rose. If I had to guess that we would hit a similar situation I would say that's a strong likelihood that that could happen over the next quarter. Now, over the next quarter, the Fed is not expected uh, to lower rates, and likely Powell is going to just be on pause until the new next Fed chairman comes into the reins, and during that period, just continue running the balance sheet up. If that's happening, I could see the dollar getting a reprieve over here. Now, I don't know how high the dollar bounces over here. I don't think that the dollar bouncing over here should be a headwind for any type of risk assets, as it was not this phase of the Fed cycle last time when you had dollar rising, tech rising, Bitcoin rising, and gold rising. Very rare does that happen. It was all happening back then. That would be my expectations. And until the Fed continues their cutting cycle, I wouldn't be surprised here to see if the dollar played a little bit of. I'm just trying to look of where that last one was, and I don't see anything clear. Yeah, and what the Supreme Court decision also, right? Come back over here to when the tariffs began, and you saw this major sell off on the dollar. If the Supreme Court takes off the tariffs and they're not put on by the administration, could we see a move back towards that level, right? 103, 105. It seems likely that that could happen. So I think long term, I think we see a weaker dollar here. This is just expressed again through other fiat. So I think in a world today where we're looking at the rise of hard assets, it doesn't really matter anymore to us, as much to us. And I think that following, Bitcoin versus dollar, gold versus dollar, that's really what matters. Trump's last term. So early in the term, after the first year, dollar rose pretty significantly first term, huh? So we're right now into January. Dollar came off significantly. I don't know if I'm going to go with the Fed cycle. The Fed over here too. That was their last hike. This is when Paul Tudor, no, this is over here. Sorry. All right, y'all. Good thing I took that ibuprofen ahead. Finally getting a little bit of a longer session in here. All right, y'all. Ace, I don't have a better read right now, but I will soon. But I do expect, I would not be surprised if you start seeing, if the Supreme Court takes off the tariffs and the Trump doesn't put on new ones, I think the dollar could get a real bounce. A real bounce is into that 103, 105 area. If that doesn't happen here with the dynamics of the Fed balance sheet rising and just going back to last cycle, we saw dollar rising. We saw nothing substantially, but dollar rising and also risk assets as well. I love you all so much. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you all tomorrow.